Okay, I'm doing a little bit of yearly maintenance on my guitars. Since I'm actually not doing any traveling, I haven't done any subway traveling since mid-March when the quarantine began. So I'm really unable to go to the guitar technician. Plus not going to work and stuff, being on unemployment, whatever unemployment there is. There's no room for, spending $75 on a setup or this and that on a setup. So I have to, learn to set up my own guitars. So today I was doing a little bit of, you can see I've got my truss rod cover off there. You used to take a different kind of, you don't take the Allen wrench, they use like a 5/16, what do you call it, a nut wrench. So, yeah, I don't want to lose that. I got this here. 1972 truss rod cover, look at that. I'll put that back on after the video. I should have done that, I forgot. But anyway, I polished it up. I used this really nice fretboard oil wax stuff that our viewer Dave gave me, and thank you. Put a new set of 10s on it, and she's doing well. So, should we talk about today? Let's talk about maintenance. Since I had to do a little maintenance on my guitars today, let's talk a little bit about maintenance on the on your hats, on your felt hats. Okay, these are questions that get asked in multiple different ways about multiple different subjects, but they're all related to maintenance, so we'll see if we could cover most of them. Let's think. Alright, first and foremost, heat. You know, we talk about that a lot. You have to have a fairly cool place. If your room is real hot, you know, no matter how much you like keeping it there, consider keeping your hats in a different room. Someplace, you know, that's may not be as convenient. It might not be like the closet you like or whatever. Maybe you have to go down to the basement stairs. It's something inconvenient for you. But if it keeps your hats from shrinking, that's a good thing, right? So, yeah, keep your hats in a low part of the house, you know, basement or first floor, and away from the radiators. Or if what you do is you designate one room as a no radiator room if you can, you know. Generally, if the rest of the house is heated, it'll be fine. Just the walls stay hot enough, you know. So, like, I keep my guitars in this room. There's nothing coming out of this radiator. It's cold, but the room's warm, you know. Even the walls are just hot. So, yeah, do what you can. Leave the windows open, you know, now and then. It's kind of bugs my wife and my kid a little bit, but I keep my door closed. But I like to keep the windows open. It's mostly for my guitars. It's not mostly for me, but I also like to get some breeze, you know, I like air. I do close them for the videos because the sound factor. I used to leave them open, but I've been keeping them closed lately just for better sound quality. I also noticed the closer I am to the microphone, the richer it is. So I'm going to work on getting a lapel mic. I've seen lavalier, whatever they are. They're like $9.99 and up on Amazon. And even like the $10, $20 ones get good reviews. So yeah, I could probably afford to get, like, you know, at least a little better one than that. And keep hitting subscribe, guys, if you like the videos. If you don't like them, don't hit like and stuff, but if you do like what you see, give me the thumbs up, you know, like, if you can, you know, every time. Those things actually help the station to thrive, and it allows me to get a little bit more money without you having to donate. All you have to do is just hit as many likes as possible and consider it like a donation, you know. It might equal, like, you know, 25 cents if you sit there hitting a bunch of likes or something, but, you know, if 100 people do that, you know, I'll have enough for like a hamburger or something, you know. So, what you guys got to do is just keep doing what you're doing. Watch me, and thank you for placing orders. And if you do place an order, it's cool if you mention it, that you got your inspiration from Kevin's video. It helps me sort of, I don't know that they're still thinking about me at work, even though I haven't been there since March. I'd like to be back, but I mean, who likes to go to work? Everybody likes not to go to work, but also not having a place to work it's what it is. So yeah, support is great, and I appreciate everybody. It's good that you guys give me shout outs. You've been giving me good reviews on Yelp, JJ's on Yelp, and good reviews on Google. I've seen many great comments down there, and you've wrote a few emails to the boss. They even forwarded one or two of them back saying, I watched Kev's videos and I got the idea, from him or whatever, So that's good. That helped me personally as a person. Not so much the station, but I guess if you're helping me, you're also helping the channel, the hat channel. But I hope that this can build one day so that I make, a little chunk of money. That's something that's like actually something, where I could use that and put it into like a real good HD camera, some really good lighting, and maybe even do something like some animations and some field trips where I could interview people and stuff, go to hat factories or go to, you know, old-time places where they block hats and stuff, and interview this, interview that. So yeah, trying to build the station up, you know, give it a 1-2 punch. Lots of content. That's basically what it is. It's very little flash, no editing, no logos, no theme songs. All it is just this dude talking. You know, 25 years going into work, 9 to 5. Actually, it was longer than that. It's like, what time we get out? 7 o'clock. Yeah, it's 10 to 7. First was 9 to 6, then 10 to 7. So yeah, 9-hour days or something. Doing that since '94 at JJ's, 25 years. And then before that, I worked at 9 years at my dad's place. I used to go, you know, during summer and Saturdays when I was a kid, you know, even before that when I wasn't working full-time. And I basically have been doing retail my whole life, and selling Stetson since I was a kid. 54 now, and the Stetson sales rep, Ray Curley, the old legend there, he knew me since I was a little guy, like, you know, 10 years old or something. I used to go to the trade shows, King of Prussia, Pennsylvania and stuff, and you know, and he's still around and stuff. But it's a long time in the industry doing all this stuff, and what I'm hoping is that everything that's in here, I could try to get it all out to you. You know, whatever I can tell you, I will tell you, or whatever I can think of, I guess, you know. Alright, let's talk about maintenance. A lot of people ask about the sweatband. I feel that you don't really need to treat the sweatband. I do have hats that are 20 years or more. It's mostly about heat. Heat will mess your sweatbands up. It definitely does. It dries them up, it shrinks them, it gets them brittle, it makes other things, it's like oils, like pomade, Vaseline type stuff. That also messes it up. It just does. There's no way around it, but it can make it really age a lot. Some leathers, you could even take the finish off of it and you could start getting some finish stains on you. That's rare, but it's not unheard of. Depends on what kind of leather or pleather they're using or whatever. Bonded leather or something. If you are using that kind of stuff, you know, like pomade and stuff, and it's always on your sweatband, like all the time, you know, you can't really bring it in and have me clean it. Cleaning it it's very invasive. You know, if I take some alcohol and I just press real hard and I get all that off the leather, there's not going to be a lot of leather left. You know, like I'll be taking a good like 20% of the leather off. So the best thing to do is prevention. If it was me, I would probably put a sweat wick inside there. I'd rather have a little big, put one of those little cap Banu sweatbands from our accessory section, or you can get them on Amazon, but don't buy the terry cloth ones, those are super thick. Buy the regular ones in black cotton, and that would be better for the pomade, because that way it would never even touch the hat, you know, and you could just keep changing those. What else is sweatbands? Yeah, heat is going to mess it up. I wouldn't put any kind of conditioner, saddle soap, leather cream, leather oil, neat's foot oil, mink oil. What are those other things? Leather cream. There's a million different things. Saddle soap is the coolest one. That one, I like that. That's for cleaning it, right? You don't need any of that stuff on your leather. Yeah, you don't do it. But wearing it is good. Just the actual human contact is really good for it. When you don't wear your hat for many years. Let's say you stop wearing it for 4 years or something, and the hat is hanging up in your house where the heat goes on every January, every February. It's blasting like every single day, 30, 60, 90, 100 days of like super heat maybe. If that happens, is 100, let's say times 4 years, 400 days of super heat is gonna do something to your leather. It's kind of like taking a piece of beef and hanging it over 400-degree fire. Well, not 400 degrees, but hanging it over some, a fire or smoker for 400 days, or a heater. It dries it out, it shrinks it, it gets it harder, and also it's kind of like teetering on one leg there, sorry, and it makes it just about ruined. So yeah, heat is bad. Any of those, like, what do you call it, products, cleaners, conditioners, they don't always react to every single leather. Some leathers have different kind of finishes on them. Some of them have the finish that's more kind of, sorry, this is bothering my eyes, sensitive to light. Some of them have kind of like a regular finish, like shining your shoes. Other ones are more like, it's like there's some kind of bonded leather where it's almost like a painted, like where there's this, it's leather, but then there's this kind of like finish that's almost like paint with a kind of a clear coat over that. So it's like you can almost take Windex and clean that clear coat rather than, trying to shine it up like leather. So it's different. It's not like you're conditioning the leather. It's like there's this sort of synthetic gloss coat between you and the leather. So it doesn't always react to that stuff. Sometimes what happens is you hit it and you're taking some oil-based stuff, and then you kind of the clear coat gets broken up there with the oil base, okay? And then what you're doing is you're breaking it, and then you're working it. You're breaking it further. You make a bigger cloud of a broken finish. So you have a patch there where the finish is gone from the hat. So what can happen is the paint below the clear coat can start coming off. It starts mixing with that oil and stuff that you put on there, and then you have your cream and it's just wet and it's mixing with stuff that never should have exposed to, and it's just like the black from underneath mixes, and you start to get black on your face. If it's raining out, you could start getting some black, like Giuliani, things going down. It's bad news. I wouldn't do it. Just don't treat it. It's like this. Some people like to do things just to do it, or as a preventative. Don't do it if it's not a problem. If everything looks okay, leave it. Do as little things to your hat as possible. Like steam, try not to steam it or spray it or do any of those things unless it's really necessary. If the hat is just not controllable and you can't get it to snap anymore, okay, it's time to whip out the spray and maybe try to fix it. But if it's, if it's okay, don't mess with it. Let nature take its course, less is more. Try not to do stuff to it. That's always a good thing. But as far as protecting it from sweat and things like that, that is a real deal thing. Eventually, hats get old because you start getting sweat stains, either coming through onto the band or coming below the bands and on the brim, or this whole area. That's one reason why hats get thrown out, sweat stains. Another reason why people chuck their hats is because it has a hole here. You get a pinhole, kind of like threadbare first. Threadbare starts a little pinhole, the pinhole gets bigger, then it's kind of like a long hole. Then the long hole is kind of like, if you stick your finger in it, it's just a big hole, and it gets to the point where you could stick a few fingers through the hole, People just throw it out. And trying to patch it is even worse. It just brings attention to it and it looks bad. Unless you're a funky kind of guy then I say you could do something cool, like take some like contrasting thread, like a different color, and make some X's, like some real sloppy kind of Frankenstein stitches, and then stitch it up, you know? And then take one of the stitches and go down a little further or something. So do something that it looks like on purpose, and like sort of close those holes, but do it in a very obvious way, with like a contrasting color or something like lime green on top of brown. And then you could do some, you know, another something over here, like a little lightning bolt in lime green, just to make it look on purpose. Things like that are cool, but when you try to hide it, like, you know, try to glue it from the inside and pinch it, or just sew it clean, it looks worse. It actually just looks worse. Sometimes it's like, just let it be, or make it like those jeans you buy that you have to pay extra for the holes in the knees, you know, those kind of ones, where it's like, you know, $150 jeans, but they're only $100 if you get the plain ones. The ones with the holes in the knees are $150, because somebody had to poke those holes and get the little strings out and, you know, make them look old, age it with sandpaper, and make a few, you know, spots with like an electric sander or something. That stuff's actually cool, you know. I don't really like that on guitars, and I don't like it on hats, but I think if you have a problem with your hat already, it's kind of like a good way to play it off. Like if you got a rip here, you know, sew it up in a weird kind of cool Frankenstein way. Get some like dark brown embroidery thread. Make some X's, X, 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 like some old Frankenstein stitches, you know. That'll look cool. It'll, you know, stick the matchstick in there, or some guitar pick, or do some kind of like, you know, funky thing, and make it look like tongue-in-cheek, you know, like your casual hat. Okay, let's talk more about the maintenance. Now, why do people get holes here? One reason. Okay, what they do is they take their hat, they bring it home, and they put it down on the table. Honey, I'm home. Or, honey, I'm home. Okay, they hang it on a banister, a hook. People say, oh, I thought hanging up was good, Kevin. Well, the thing about hanging it is, your brim is okay. Your brim is floating in the air. It's good. But this, the little point, you're going to pick it up by that point every single time like this. Okay, I'm leaving. Stop. Okay, now if you take that hat and you stop yourself, you're pinching the hell out of it. It's like really pinched. You know, you did that where the hat before was like way out there. You did something, you know, there. So, if you grab, in mid-grab, if you stop yourself, you're really bashing it. Okay, so flipping your hat upside down is good, okay? Keep your brim always flipped up when you're not wearing it, no matter how you wear your brim, flip it upside down like this, because when you're going to pick it up, you're going to pick it up by the brim, and in a different place every time. You pick it up here, you're going to pick it up there, there, and there. Not the exact same place. But when your hat is like this, okay, you're going to pick it up in the point there every single time. Okay, you might pick it up there like 70% of the time, and then the other way you'll pick it up there maybe 30% of the time. So you wind up getting a really bad hole here with a minor hole in the back. And then later on it becomes like a huge hole here with a little smaller hole here. So you're picking it up in two exact same spots every single time, thousands of times in its life, you know. 365 days a year. Figure maybe you pick it up 4 times a day. It's probably pretty conservative. So, you know, we're talking thousands, and in a hat's life, it's quite a few thousand. You're picking it up in the same place, but you're mashing it really hard. So it's like folding a piece of paper or an envelope 1,000 times in the same place, and then doing it another 1,000 times, and doing it while it's wet sometimes. You know, eventually it's just going to break through. Now you say, well, I like my hat a little messed up in the front. I like a tight pinch. Okay, that's good. So do it. Get it the way you like it. set it and then forget it. Then stop grabbing it. Then once you got it the right way, you got it broken in and pinched in, okay, put your hat upside down. The idea is, if you set your hat the right way, you don't have to worry about where you grab it from, because you're not setting yourself up for this grab here by the pinch. You put your hat flat, you're going to do it no matter how learned you are. Even I do it. You grab it by there. So you set it this way. What happens is you're instantly going to grab it by the brim. I walk around the store all the time holding it by the brim. But you're grabbing it in a different place every time. Okay? Every time. And it's a softer grab then. It takes a lot to get this to stay in your hand. You can't hold it light. You got to hold it tight, you know, because it slips out, you know. So basically, yeah, don't set yourself up for the pinch, because you're going to make a hole through it, okay? Don't hang it. If you gotta hang it, be aware of this and hold it by the brim. Don't grab it there, okay? If you got to hang it, hanging is okay. Snap the brim up, okay? And don't grab it by the pinch. Grab it by the brim, okay? Alright, what about maintenance? There is a lining inside. The lining can get a little nasty. You could always pick up the sweatband, pull the lining out, okay? Linings can be purchased at JJ Hat Center. I forgot how much they were, maybe 10 bucks or something, 15. I'd have to take a look. It could be between 10 and 25. We have little black and gold linings. If you want one, you know, you tell us what size you are. You could say, you know, in centimeters, and you could say 7 1/4. You could say I'm a large. Whatever you say is fine. We'll send you out a lining and stuff. You could do it yourself, you know. I believe they charge to install a lining, so it's better to do it yourself rather than to ask us, because the price is definitely higher that way, I believe. And putting the lining in takes like 10 seconds. It's kind of a joke, you know. So you could watch my video, you know, show you how to do it. Most of the time the linings are just bunched up. So take them out, steam them out, just steam them out, you know. Put it in steam, something in there. Okay, once you got that cylinder shape, put it back in, you're good. The lining can be purchased, changed, on and on and on. The bands, that could be changed, okay. All the parts that are touching the head, the inside, you know, the lining's touching. In the front and in the back, not so much. Mostly the front here, the ribbon is touching. It's making, you know, that's where you're going to sweat, right here and up here. So all the parts that are making contact with the perspiration are changeable or disposable. You know, you could change this, you could change this over and over and over again, and the hat lives on. Same thing with the leather. Leather band, sweatband, we could put in a leather band, we could put in a cloth band, or we could put in a simple ribbon band, which doesn't protect you much at all, but it's good for travel hats, roll-up hats, and keeping it lighter or looser. If your hat is too tight, you could change it to, you know, a ribbon band. It'll get you a little bit more room sometimes. Those are all things you could keep maintaining. You can keep getting new linings every, like, you know, 5 years or something, every 10 years. You could even wash these things. Wash them, you know, no heat, steam them, put them back in. So, and the hat just lives on. It's kind of like your shoes. You keep getting them shined, but the soles you could keep getting resoled. Same thing with this. This gets a little sweated up. You bring it to the shop. We change it. Okay. This gets sweated up. It's going to take a long time, but it might. We can change it for you. The hat keeps living on. Every once in a while, we could stiffen your hat. We could block it on wooden blocks, but these are things you don't need often. Generally, just a regular steaming at our shop is good. So if you visit New York, let one of us steam it up. It's free. Generally, if a hat is finicky and doesn't steam well, the brim will curl. And if we have hats like that, it'll instantly go on the sale rack, and we don't carry them anymore. So that's one clue. If you see something that's like, kind of a new hat, goes bam, right to the sale rack, $200, $300 hat, whoa, half price. Sometimes it's that. It doesn't do great in heavy rains, in light rains, or sometimes even in steam, because the felt is exquisite quality, but it's thin. Or it could just be stiff and snappy, but kind of thin. So that's when they start curling. They curl into triangular shapes and stuff. It's a good way to snag up a really good quality hat if you're not dealing with rain. I don't wear my fedoras in rain pretty much ever. I've had them since like, 94 and stuff. Maybe one or two I designate for that, but not even. I wear other stuff, like my hood or something, But for rain, no big deal. You just avoid it, or if you live in a place where it doesn't have a lot of rain, or just don't plan on wearing that nice hat in the rain, I don't wear my nice stuff in the rain. And I wear my beat up stuff in the rain. That way, if something happens, I don't care. But most of the time, they just pass the test. The next day, they're fine. They're just perfect. And like, oh, what was I scared of? That's a lot of hats. It's a gamble. They could be perfecto, no effect at all. You keep this up, okay, let it get rained on, keep the brim up, so you maintain this curve, okay, and then when all is done, hang it up with that curve intact, something like that, okay, or you could do one of these, and keep it away from heat, that's it, no hot rooms either, and you should be fine. Maintenance, what else can you do? The tape, we've talked about that. Packing tape is pretty much important. If you're going to go out in the rain, what happens is if you go out in the rain with a dusty hat, it can leave permanent impressions, kind of a muddiness. The dust mixes with the rain and it makes kind of like a cloudy muddiness, like a cloudiness. So if you have a hat that's super dusty, you have a really nice hat, but you never dust it, and it's covered with a layer of dust, like you see a lot of black hats like that, that's okay. But as soon as it gets rained on, you're going to be causing some permanent, it'll never be as black again. So if you think it's going to rain out, dust that hat, dust it with a brush, or even better, take some packing tape, pat it down, wipe it down, each part, get a little square, each area with the tape, You could sponge it off, get packing tape rings, sponge it off, wipe it off, pat it down, get in the corners, go up with the ribbon, get the edge underneath. That way, when you're clean, that way if you get dumped on by gallons and gallons of water, at least the felt won't get messed up. The worst thing is maybe it'll get out of shape, but you can always reshape a hat. But if it gets all muddy and cloudy and dirty, that seeps into the felt. It's different from a dry hat, with me taking some ink or newsprint and doing this, to it. You could always sand that off because it's dry and it's on the surface. Something that's wet usually seeps in. Like if you spill wine on a hat, if you get it really quick with a sponge or something, you could get it off before it seeps in. But if it's there for a few seconds, 5 or 10 seconds, it starts seeping in. Depending on how rainproof the hat is. Some of them are almost bead water, but most of them don't, because that rainproof seal kind of breaks down from you bending the hat. Each time you do this, you make little kind of microscopic cracks in that proofing, and it doesn't bead water anymore because you're kind of breaking it down, and so many little micro wrinkles, it gets inside. So maintenance for your hat, that's another thing. I don't really believe in putting hat jacks in the hat. A lot of people feel yeah, I bought it, so I might as well use it. I think it's okay if you have a Western hat that's really heavy and stuff, and you could put it in. It doesn't really keep a hat from shrinking, because what happens is as soon as you pull it out, it'll do its job. It'll shrink. If you're having a problem with the hat being too tight and it's fighting you and it's a little tight, and and you're stretching it, better off cutting the reed in the back. That'll get the hat to start stretching. Cut that reed. A hat like a Rancher or a Stetson Western is so hard and structured that it'll make no difference in its structural integrity, but it'll help it stretch, take the tension off the size. So that helps. It'll help a break. So in other words, your hat can break in and stretch this way, like across, instead of just like that. It's hard to explain. You got to break the tension on that ring, and then everything just kind of like stretches easier, like a soft hat. Yeah, cut the reed, and don't put the hat jack in for no reason. What happens a lot is that, like, your hat is like this, right? But the hat jack is so heavy, just the weight of it kind of does a thing to it, like, or it makes it do something like, something. So when you put it in, make sure, something's not happening with your brim that's changing. You don't want the weight of that, because they're heavy, they're really heavy. I would say, how many hats equal the weight of a hat jack? Like 20 of them or something, maybe 15 hats or something. More, they're solid chunks of wood with, like a steel shaft or something like that. So they're heavy. So it won't affect a really heavy Western as much, but a fedora, it might kind of affect the shape. And it doesn't do anything for, like, a shoe tree. How a shoe tree keeps things from shrinking down, it keeps the shape. It doesn't work like that. It just, because when you pull it out, then it shrinks back. What it does do is it stretches a hat bigger that's too small. So if your hat is 7/1/8, you could put it in. Okay, this is how you use a hat jack. Okay, let's pretend this is my hat jack here. Okay, all right, it's kind of like a piece of wood, and in the middle is a crank. You crank it open. Okay, all right. So what you do is you take your hat, you put the hat jack in. Okay. And you start cranking it, okay? Just a little tiny bit, just so you haven't stretched it yet, but just so it's enough to stay in without falling out, you know what I mean? Just snug, just a little snug, okay? Okay, once it's in like that, okay, then you go behind, and right here where the seam is, remember I showed you where the back seam is? Let's look on the inside. The back seam, there, where the bow is, right? Okay, the back seam. What you want to do is, while the hat jack is in, you hit it in the back with steam here. So the steam permeates through the hat and softens up the back seam. What it's doing is it's making the back seam hot and more elastic. So when you start opening the hat and cranking it open, the part that will basically tear or snap or pop open, it will be that back seam. So you want that to be more elastic. So heating it up makes it stretchy and elastic. The other things is right here where the bow is, this will start going under enormous pressure and kind of pulling away. So you can steam this and this, but I try not to. I try to just do the back, steam right here, get it nice and hot, and then start cranking. You could even do it together. Heat, crank, 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 crank. Okay? Then you could heat it, crank, 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 crank. Sometimes as you heat it, you hear it like croaking, creaking. The actual heat starts stretching it. So as you heat it, it softens up and starts stretching, and you're able to crank it more, more, more. Heat it a little more, crank it more. Heat it, crank it. And then this part will open up. Okay? Then you let it cool, okay, like this, upside down, brim not broken. Make the brim like this with the curve snapped up. when it's totally cool, okay, and there's just no more heat in the hat at all, you have to let it dry completely, like an hour or something, you know, maybe half hour. Then you take the hat jack out. If you take it out too soon, it's going to contract again and shrink up. I'm actually going to open the window just a little bit. All right. So, yeah, so that's what it's for. The hat jack will open your hat when it's too tight. When you're stretching it, you want to line up the hat jack to this line here. The inside wood piece, the top of the wood, should line up on the inside to right. So you got to feel it from inside. Feel it. Okay, there it is, the hat jack. Then you crank it open. You don't want a line here, a stretch mark there. You don't want a stretch mark there. You want it right here, equal with where the ribbon meets the felt. That way you won't notice the stretch mark. So if it's going like that a little bit, if it does it right on the line, it's not noticeable. It looks like some sort of fat band or something. But yeah, if you do it here, it's horribly noticeable. So line that up. Always heat just in the back seam. Don't put heat other places. Okay? There's a reason why we're doing only the back too. When you're stretching, you want the stretch to be only in the back and not in the front. Okay? When somebody sees you, they see the front, the hat still looks clean and the same. But the back is where the stretch is. The back did a thing like kind of blends out. Like here, we'll go there. Kind of like, okay, the idea is to blend it after you crank it open. You don't want it to be like a stair step. You want it to be more like a blend. Sort of round. And that you do afterwards. You know, you steam it by fixing your stretch, by camouflaging it. It's hard. You got to sort of put the hat back together after a big stretch to make it look smooth. You know, there's tricks. You know, you could just put something round inside here, like a hat stretcher, a big steel one around kind of a pillar, and then steam it here. You'll press it against like a hard flat surface, like a tabletop. Like steam the whole side here, stretch part, that not stretch part, and then put it against the tabletop with your hand inside. Kind of pat it. That way it gets evened out. Yeah. So yeah, hat jacks, you want the stretch to be in back so it's not noticeable. You don't want the stretch to be in the front where it's unsightly. So that's another reason why we only stretch it in the back. But again, stretches are for very small stretches. They're for like an eighth of a size, a quarter of a size, a third of a size, at most a half of a size. Like if you're 7 1/4 and somewhere a little bit more. But a 7 3/8 is it's just too big for you. So you're between a quarter and a 3/8. Okay, you could do that, but you'll be way better off stretching, taking the 3/8 and tightening it up. But if there's some reason why you have to do it, you know, do it. If you have a choice of buying one or the other, buy the bigger one always. If it's a vintage hat and you're like, it's only a half a size away, Kevin says I could stretch it, don't do it. Just don't do it. Vintage hats also are going to be smaller than you think because they're old and they dehydrate. So if they say something's a 7 1/8 and it's got a leather sweatband inside it, if it's from like the 50s or whatever, that 7 1/8 is like a 7. So, you know, it's not like you're going from 7 1/8 to 7 1/4. You're going from a 7 to a 7 1/4 because they're always smaller. They dehydrate after many, many, many decades of being vintage. So don't buy something a size too small and imagine that you can just stretch it. If it's a whole size, it's too much. It's huge. It's just going to be a pain. The whole hat just physically is not going to be good. If it's something like a half a size or a fraction of a size, yeah, maybe you could take a chance. It'll be some work, but you could do something. You know, it's maybe doable. I suggest always going bigger. If you're a 3/8 and there's something at a 5/8, well, just get that. That'll be cool.
The 5/8 will probably just wind up fitting you or something. You won't even have to pad it, you know. Always get something that's bigger. Like when you're talking vintage, if your vintage hat is 2 sizes too big, that's way better than a half size too small. A half size too small is going to wind up being like a whole size too small, where 2 sizes too big is going to probably wind up being like just tiny bit big, but like to the point where it just feels great, cool, you know. Maybe you'll have to tighten it up, maybe not at all. So yeah, going big is better. Bigger is always better. I used to play in a band, a girl named Denny Bonet. She's a violinist, and she had a song called "Bigger Is Always Better." That was cute, and I played bass on it, on the album version too. Just remembered that. And now for some guitars. Take a look. Okay, maintaining your hats. What else do we do to maintain your hats? Stacking your hats, don't do it. If you have to stack them, put something between them. Make hat rings, make the belts, make it into a ring, staple it, and stack them with rings. Stack them with saran wrap in between them if you have to. Just cover the bands by putting a layer of saran wrap, or take a plastic supermarket bag and just cut the top handle part off and use it like a cap. And then and just go hat, cap, hat, plastic cap, hat, plastic cap, and use those as separators to protect these ribbons. Otherwise they'll get horribly wrinkled. Your ribbons get horribly, just really messed up if you stack hats. So stack them with plastics in between, or take a belt, staple it, turn it into a ring. You can make that out of foam or out of cardboard. Staple it or tape it. Hat rings are a good way to stack hats. You could do it and then take your whole stack and put them upside down. Make a stack of 2, 3, 4. You can have some stacks of 4 on top of your closet. That works. Obviously, the best is having hat boxes, but not everybody has the room for them. You know, having a bunch of hat boxes is like a little mini wall of hats, you know. So if you don't have the room for that, there's a million things you could do. You could put pegs, nails, hooks on the wall. The only thing is they can get dusty, so you're gonna have to use packing tape, or you know, dust them now and then, or you put your hats inside plastic bags. But again, don't tie the bag or seal the bag. Just tuck the bag into the crown, just the way Stetsons are when you get them out of the box. When you get a Stetson from a Western box or something, they're wrapped in plastic, and instead of like tying the bag, they just tuck it inside the crown. That way it breathes. A hat can be in plastic to keep the dust off of it, but it must breathe. If you tie it down, you're going to get it moldy, mildewy, and you'll destroy the hat. And it's not going to help to keep the moths out either. They get through that. They do. I don't know, they bite through the plastic and eat it or something. White hats, cream colored hats, very, very light hats, light gray. Those are the hats that moths tend to go for. So if you have a moth problem, those are the ones, you try to keep those safe, you know, if you can. If you have any kind of moth issues, you're going to have to just vacuum everything, clean everything down with peppermint and lavender oil. Get some food grade peppermint and lavender, pour them into a clean Windex bottle with water and a couple of drops of rubbing alcohol, just a few drops just to as a preservative. Mix it up, shake it, and use that as a cleaner. Clean the floor, clean the sides of the walls, make a a sachet out of an old sock and, you know, a sponge. Just keep that in there, and the more you use this stuff as air freshener, clean the walls, clean the floor, clean everything with it, dust with it. Moths hate that smell. Human beings love it. For some reason, peppermint alone, lavender alone can be kind of abrasive, but when you mix the two together, dilute it with some water, it's people seem to love it. They're like, what is that heavenly smell? It doesn't last forever. It will dissipate and disappear 100% eventually, but it does last a while. And you know, if you do a batch and you know, you buy a couple of bottles, well, you can keep your house safe for like, you know, a couple of years or something. But you keep a bottle of this stuff handy, so anytime you got to dust, you know, anything under the bed, some furniture, you know, you want to do your windows, anything, you just you use this stuff, and it makes everything smell great. You spritz it into the air for an air freshener. You could shine your shoes with it. You could do anything with it, and moths hate it. It smells way better than camphor, and cedar smells. Cedar is good too, but the oil can be, you know, also a little bit overpowering, and just the wood alone doesn't work. You kind of need an entire closet made of cedar, you know. So yeah, getting a few planks doesn't work. And that's it. Maintenance. Straw hats, the same thing. Upside down. Okay. Don't put them flat on the brims because you're going to crack them here. Straws will crack there. If you're having problems with them cracking here, flip your brims upside down. People know what I'm talking about. They have cracks here on their Panamas and they got to throw them away every few years. Your Panama can last you 20, 30 more years if you start putting them upside down all the time. No exceptions. Just store them upside down on their brim and this area is fine. Or get something with a reinforced front, like a Cappus Bogart or something, or you know, all the Cappus stuff. Cappus Panamas are all reinforced there, and flip it upside down. The problem goes away. The other thing is get away from Panamas and go with the hemp hats. Hemp hats do not crack. The Stetson hemp Stratoliner or the hemp Asher, it's stretchy. So what happens is rather than cracking or splitting, it just gets soft and starts getting kind of an accordion kind of a stretchiness to it. So you just give it a spray, a hairspray every few years, like every, I don't know, 3-4 years maybe, probably more, you know. If you really abuse it and stuff, 3-4 years. If you take care of your hat, it could be every 5-10 years. You need to stiffen a hat like that. They never crack, ever. You just can't get them to crack. So if you've had problems with cracking Panamas here, stop getting the Panamas. Try a hemp Stratoliner or a hemp Asher, and you'll see old Kevy Kev will save you some money. Instead of spending $125 every year or $200 for a hand-woven Panama, that's such a luxury and you love it, but you got to throw it away every year or two. Your wife is starting to roll her eyes. You could tell she's getting a little pissed, but you know, it's his hat thing. I let him enjoy his hat thing, but yeah, he buys a new one every year. What's with that, you know? Buy a hemp hat, and you got one that'll last you forever until you're just like old and gray, and then your son will take it or your grandson will take it or something. They just last forever. Hemp hats, get one of those. It's called Milan or Mylan straw. Mylan's been around, you know, you can see pictures of Sinatra wearing it. The old Milan was made out of different things. There was all kinds of different, you know, like hemp is one thing that's made out of, but it's made out of all different types of things, flax or whatever. The sirens, it's been a while. Ambulance. Alright, so maintenance. There's not much for caps, newsboys and stuff like that. Just keep them in a drawer, basically, like, you know, stack them up just like t-shirts or sweaters or something like that. What you can do for them is you can stuff the crown. You could take like the papers, little pancakes of them, and put them inside the crown. What you do is you get one tube of paper, like a long kind of a snake, and then one sort of a pancake that's about this thick, this wide. Okay, what you do is you put the pancake inside the crown, and then you take the tube, you put it around the pancake like you're outlining it, and then that gets the puffy part of the crown. Let me show you what I mean. Okay. All right, so here's a cap. All right, you guys have probably seen this. This is how they go. You take a sort of a pancake, and then you make a, like a flat kind of thing. You put it in there. And what that does is it props this up kind of, and it fills this up, and it makes this shape instead of like that. You're poofing it out, and you're getting a nice kind of a mushroom shape, Okay. Then around the sides, around this perimeter, you want to make a tube of paper, and then just stick it on the edge, right on the edge there. So you got the pancake in the middle, and then around it, in this area here, that's where the tube goes. 2 pieces of paper. So that way your hats are just stuffed for the off season or whatever. It keeps them really nice. You don't have to do this. You can keep them flat, but yeah, this would be a little bit better if you're kind of picky, and you want your caps to be super nice. Another thing is you could just fold them. Take the peak and fold them under, just like that. I mean, that's not going to keep it the best, but what I do is when I'm traveling, I put it like that in my pocket. I get to a restaurant, I fold it under. You take the peak, fold it under. You get on your date, you stick it in your pocket. So, hey, how you doing? All right, you take it out. So, folding it is good. I don't know if it's good for long-term storage, but it's good for traveling. But yeah, right in here, get a tube. Pancake in the middle, right in the center there. And the idea is you want this whole thing to be a nice, perfect shape. No wrinkles. And you can't steam a leather cap, but if this was wool, or if it was cotton, or linen, or any of those kind of fabrics, I could put the pancake and the tube in there, and then I could steam it, kind of try to shape it with my hands and get all those wrinkles out, just kind of like that. You push the little pancake of paper against the surface of the roof, and you're steaming it. But you don't want to steam leather or suede, just don't do it. Not much you could do for leather or suede except brush it, brush it, brush it, brush it, brush it, and that's it. Generally, one way will make it dark, one way will go light. So you find the way that's not against the grain, and you brush it that way. What else is there for maintenance that I forgot? The band. A lot of times now these bands, they ride up. Okay, you can push them down. If you get really in there, you can. It's easy if you kind of like lick your finger into it, but that's gross. So one method I try to do is the karate chop. I've showed you this, I think, the other day. What you do is you get to hit it right in the center and push it down. So that way you don't have to grab it and ease it down. Okay, so if you're seeing like in here the stitches are being revealed because your band is riding up, you can just push it back down with your thumb, but it's hard to get a grip on it because it's kind of slippery. Okay, hold it by the leather in the inside here. Alright, aim for the center, right in the center of the band, aim for the center and push down. I wish we had a slow motion like a high-speed camera. So yeah, it's like that. You rotate the hat. Really just using the pinky there, you're kind of scooping it. So that way you get that band really low, far down, so there's no gap, no little brown gap at the bottom there. The back is showing some stitches, I think. It's riding up. See the stitches there? Let's see if we can knock the back down too.
Get it? It's a little bit left, maybe, over there. Yeah, we're good. Nothing. There's the stitch. Every hat has those stitches. That's what keeps on the band there. Maintenance, okay. Things like this can be steamed down. Hit this with steam, hit this with steam, and just press. Just hit them, hit the corners and hold it. Direct pressure until it dries. You know, hold it like that for like, I don't know, 3 minutes. You could walk around and just hold it. Let go. You know? Tiny bit of steam will sometimes get out little scratches and white marks, but it's good to be careful with steam, because steaming a brim with the very thin, soft edge, raw edge, it can be it could be risky. Sometimes you want to steam just the crown. So what you do is you keep the brim low, you keep the crown high, so when the steam hits it, the steam is going upwards, So if you keep it this way, the steam is going to bounce off the crown and go into the brim. Keep your hat this way, steam the brim, that's it. Give it a little brush counterclockwise. Maybe hit it with tape before you steam it and brush it. Tape, 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 get off all the dirt. Okay, brush it counterclockwise, and then little mist of steam. Gets rid of all the lights and darks and makes it very even color. There's not too much else I think we need to talk about right yet. What else can we talk about? Stiffening your own hat is something I'm going to say you should do it only when you feel the control is gone and there's no control. Your hat won't go down and up anymore, or it won't stay down at all. Now, if your hat doesn't want to stay down, take it and force it down even more. Go down more and more and more, further past the point where it's supposed to go. Let go. Okay? See if that brings a snap back. Also works if, let's say you want this curve just to be further down, like there. So you just go further down. So instead of going to the point where you want it, go past the target, way, way past it. And that'll change the shape a little. Alright, I think I'm losing sunlight here, so I guess I'll wrap it up.